welcome back to my channel, everybody. So today we have special guest, which is Vitek from Engine. Oh, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's just so honored to just have people like you and then, like talk about engine and industries and what's going on with you guys. Okay, so today's video's purpose is to really kind of like for us to understand what the engine is, right? Like what you guys building, what's coming in the future. That's what most people want to know. But also, I'm curious to know who you are because you're really interesting person. Well, I just Googled it, but like I know that you are super early in the industry. So I really want to know your background, what you envision to begin this journey, all those things. So that's the kind of purpose. But anyway, just to kickstart the conversation, maybe there's gonna be new audience, right? Like who encounter maybe engine in the recent days. So maybe could you introduce yourself just briefly as to what you do?
Sure. So I'm VTech, and I'm the co-founder and CTO of Engine. So Engine's been around for about 13 years, and I was there since the beginning. We started with zero,
Wow.
and yeah, we grew this. We first started as a social network for gamers. All of us at Engine are super passionate gamers, and we build this platform for millions of gamers to build their own social communities around games. So that was the
Oh,
first 7-8 years when we built Engine. We grew it actually to 20 million users, quite amazing.
wow.
250,000 gaming communities, and we saw that people really wanted to create communities and build things around servers, and people actually started donating money to game servers and their guilds and clans and people that played with online,
Oh.
and we started thinking about this in blockchain. So that's sort of
Mm.
where we started. And now Engine is an innovator in the blockchain space. We were the first NFT platform for gamers, for game developers to create NFTs.
Mm.
And we have this vision of gaming in the future, and how NFTs can really change and make our digital and physical lives
Mm.
together in a really interesting way.
I see. So, yeah, I mean, I really want to get into how you enter this industry because 30, you're as old as like, as early as like maybe Satoshi Nakamoto, maybe. Maybe you are the one. I don't know. But, okay, but before getting to that, okay, so the engine, as you mentioned, is NFT platform for developer, right? Maybe can you touch on like how people can utilize the platform to do, you know,
Yeah.
certain things?
So I mean, what Engine lets you do is create NFTs.
Okay.
You don't even have to have a blockchain team. Like if you're building a game, you could be a game developer. You could be one person building a game, or it could be a larger game company. And what we want to do is make it easy for game developers to build these things. So
Mm,
it lets you mint NFTs, use NFTs inside the game. And also for people who are playing the games, it makes it easy to see them, trade them,
mm, mm.
interact with them, do everything you want with NFTs. So we were trying to reduce that complexity that blockchain has. That it's
Oh,
installing wallets and doing all this difficult stuff, and
yeah,
we're trying to reduce that as much as possible. That'll really make it possible for everyone in the world to use NFTs.
I see. So, well, the my imagination is that I'm not developer, but for example, like if I was an iOS game developer or something like that, then if I wanted to say like, hey, I wanna, I don't know, use NFT in my game asset, then like I can use that, well, use Engine to
Yeah.
create the NFT and bring it to my game.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you're just developing a game and you want to start selling some NFTs and make them useful in the game,
Yeah.
maybe some, skins you can skin your character with, for example, put some fancy hats on your character, or have a
Oh.
cool weapon that you can get through the blockchain.
Mm-mm.
You can just literally sign up to our platform, put the SDK in your mobile game,
Mm.
and mint a few NFTs, and it'll show up inside your game very easily. You could get it working within probably a day or two.
Whoa, okay. This sounds like, well, I'm not developer, but like sounds like not difficult. I don't know. Maybe it sounds easy enough. So
Yeah.
okay, is there any like limitation in terms of like I mean, there's so many games, right? For example, mobile game, like a PC game, like a VR, AR, all those things. Like does any kind of developer can utilize engine, or is there any limitation?
Yes. You can use it in any game. Honestly, our tools are so flexible that you can do it in a mobile game, in a VR game. Though I think using a wallet in a VR game still has to be explored. I haven't seen a
Oh,
VR crypto wallet yet, but I'm sure somebody can maybe we'll start exploring that one day. But
nice.
but you can use it in any format. You can use it on consoles, PlayStation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that mean though? Like, does that mean like, for example, like big companies, like a big gaming company, like Epic Games or like I don't know, Square Enix, Nintendo, all those companies also maybe eventually, use your platform to like bring the NFT into the platform, probably.
We've actually had discussions with large publishers on that scale. And so they're interested, but they're still kind of taking baby steps. They don't want to go like full blockchain, everything in the game's blockchain. We're all in, we're jumping in head first in the deep end of the pool.
Okay.
No, they want to take baby steps. So they maybe want to offer some sort of, unique item and or maybe do an airdrop and see how that goes and how the community accepts it, right?
Yeah.
But our next generation of tools that we're building are going to be able to handle millions of tokens, millions of transactions. And that's what we're building with our new blockchain as well, Efinity.
Right.
So, these large games, when they have 40 million active users, for example, it's pretty difficult to do that on Ethereum, right? Ethereum has a lot more smaller communities and games. So we're building the infrastructure to make those kind of games possible.
Wow. Okay. So it's interesting to hear that those like big companies, well, taking a baby step, but are they like what is the do you think what is the like main like reason that they cannot like jump all in? Maybe they're like scared of like I don't know. Is there any issue?
Okay, well, the game development cycles are very long, and
Right.
they're they take years, and you have to put millions of dollars into developing such a large game. So typically, I mean, we've started talking to game developers, and there's a lot of people that are converting over to the blockchain way of thinking in these companies.
Yeah.
But there's development teams are scared. What's this going to do to our development process? Certain people are like, how are we going to communicate this to our players? So we're at the point where I think it's very close. I think we're going to actually start seeing a wave of gaming starting from now. I have a strong feeling that this is going to be the new era of blockchain gaming starting. And we're going to see the smaller games, and then slightly larger games, and slightly larger games get really successful. Like we've seen Axie Infinity,
Yeah.
be a huge success, and
crazy.
that's just a crypto game. I mean, it's just a crypto game. It's very simple. It's not like it's not like World of Warcraft, or it's not like
Exactly.
Fortnite or that kind of scale of game. It's very simple mechanics, but you're seeing it get super popular. So we're going to start seeing indie developers releasing games. They're going to blow up and get popular, and then you're going to see the first experiments with large game franchises.
Yeah, wow, yeah, I really want to see those like, I don't know, even like mobile gaming, right? Like that's like a lot of people spend a lot of time on. So that would be really cool to see like big companies actually implement that to kind of test it out. Then maybe move on to like a AAA title PC gaming or something.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because right now people see blockchain gaming as this small little thing, like play to earn,
Right.
trading, collectible cats or whatever it is, right? And that kind of dynamic. But there's so much you can do in gaming with blockchain.
Yeah.
Just the very fact that you own the item just by itself adds this element of risk and excitement, because you could lose it, or you could earn something and you could steal somebody else's item, or there's a lot there. And then you can add on the openness aspect, where games become networks and communities. We've seen that a lot with MMORPGs in the past, where those became huge, and people started building communities outside of the games. They started building add-ons and mods and all this kind of stuff. Minecraft is the perfect example of that too, right? And we can see these tools, blockchain tools, the new creative potential that these will give people, the ability to do, to see history of everything that ever happened in that game with items, the ability to trade items directly in the game, or to craft things, to put your items at stake and wonder if you're going to get them back. Or imagine building like a robot game where you can build robots with tokens and they fight each other, and then the robot that wins gets to take all the tokens, things like that.
Interesting.
So
yeah,
we can get really, really creative. There's so many creative things you could do.
Oh, okay. Just a random thought. Like, have you thought about just building like developing a game by yourself? Like, I'm sure like you get a lot of ideas, right?
Yeah, I know. We have tons of ideas. We would all love to. And we actually have some game developers on our staff that have worked in big game companies, like Riot Games,
do you have? Okay.
And others. And they want to build games, right? So at the moment, we have so much to do that it's like, I think it's more fruitful to inspire game developers,
right,
and build the tools and build the highway for them, and then help them easily build the games. Because game developers have a specific focus. They want to build, they want to put all this effort into building the most fun game they can.
Yeah.
And we want to give them we want to take that burden away from the tools, the infrastructure, the need to have this whole blockchain team. I mean, we're 55 people at Engine right now, just focusing on blockchain, right? So it's a lot of work just to do that.
Okay.
But one day when I retire, I'm gonna start building games.
Yeah.
There's so much to do there.
I know, like that's gonna be really interesting. I want to see like what kind of game you can produce. But so okay.
I got ideas, like a lot of ideas.
You got a lot of ideas. I believe you. Okay, so I think like there's so many people watching right now, maybe kind of new to like NFT gaming, like all those things. Maybe some people don't understand, like, okay, so why do game companies wanna bring NFTs, right? Like my understanding is that, well, like because it has a unique value in a game, so that like maybe user can like sell to other players, or there's like economics going on too, right? And then maybe game publisher can earn certain percentage of those like transaction. That can be like a revenue model too. But is there like a specific like a motivation for like game developer to like bring NFTs?
There's a few different motivations. So like you mentioned, one of them is you can tap into this new source of where the money is going, where people want to spend their money. That's obviously we're seeing a lot of indie games that would have never been funded traditionally, or they would have a lot of trouble, but they're flourishing in the blockchain space. They're able to get a huge community behind them, people funding the game development, and then giving them revenue as they play and trade and do all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of companies see that potential, and they see, wow, we could do, instead of having this gray market, it could actually be a legitimate blockchain market, and they can enforce certain royalties and things like that. That's really exciting. But we also, I've heard this other angle where game developers actually want to be part of the revolution. They want to have a new creative tool, and they want to do it right. They don't want to just sell items, and just keep selling them like they did with free-to-play model or that kind of thing. They want to actually tap in, like, what makes people engage with these games more than a regular game, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that aspect, it's really, when you're playing a game, your mind goes into the virtual world. You are that character in that game. You are that player. And that's part of your identity. You make friends in that game. You make enemies in that game, right? You're spending your hours and time, and you're getting really emotional about it, right? You think about that game after you go to sleep, right? So, I mean, a lot of games are like that. And so I think they want to figure out how to tap into this and how to make these games more rich for people. Like, it's part of your digital identity. It's part of your digital self. And I think in the next couple of years, everyone's going to start figuring out how we make that digital identity persistent and real. So as you move forward through your life, you can keep that identity with you. You can keep those experiences you had in those games, those items, that history. You can access it. You can look at it. You can use it maybe in a future game. If there's a series of games, maybe you can take your items into the next game. You can take your character into the next game. There's so much potential there. And I think a lot of the smart game developers and smart companies are trying to tap into that potential.
I see. So, okay, that's very interesting. So game companies are not only pursuing the profit, but also like how to like maximize the engagement, and like they're purely excited about this aspect of like, like human psychologies and how to get people plugged into the space.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
the reason is, sure, you can have some big hits in the beginning where
Yeah.
people are, throwing money at a crypto game and, making a bunch of money, and that happens. But it very soon the market gets saturated, right?
Yeah.
Gets saturated with clones. Like, you saw that in the early mobile days. All the early mobile games were just clones and clones. You had Farmvilles and clones of Farmville and all that kind of stuff. And eventually you have to start making fun games that are fun for themselves to play. And you can't just rely on the crypto blockchain earning mechanic, right?
Right.
That becomes really boring after maybe 1 year or two. So the long-term engagement, how does Fortnite engage its players, by having these seasons and these interesting new experiences that come up all the time? How do all these other games make you feel like you're part of a world? That's the games that are going to bring in millions and hundreds of millions of users eventually. Minecraft, it survived for so long because it's such a compelling game for so many people. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's very interesting. Okay. Yeah, but okay, so maybe later on, like I want to ask you more about like what you think, well, what you see in the future, like maybe in 3 years, what kind of world do you like envision? Maybe it's something that we don't really see, because you're in the deep in the industry. So I'm curious about that. But so before getting to that, I kind of wanted to kind of ask this, engine, engine's like a uniqueness of it, right? Like what there's just, so it seems like to me like there's just so many like NFT projects that are coming up, right? And I know that you guys are leader in the industry. So what, like, from your perspective, what sets apart like Engine from like other competitors or like other players? Like what is a really unique thing?
Well, one of the unique things is that we're building a whole ecosystem of products. We're building, not just a wallet or not just a token or not just a game, right? We're trying to build the full end-to-end experience.
Yeah.
So we can inspire people and make it possible to do something really easily. So we have a beautiful mobile wallet. We're building, we already have a backend wallet that game developers can run on their servers, but we're building new versions of that now. We're building a blockchain called Efinity that removes some of these barriers that people have. So like the economic barrier, like having to go and purchase coins just to play a game and do all this stuff. It's a lot easier to do that on Efinity, and you can just start playing. And we're building, we have SDKs that game developers can just plug into their games and instantly see the items that their players have. Super easy. Link up the players' wallets, have all those mechanisms. We have Beam, which is you can scan a QR code and get an item airdropped to you immediately. That's a really easy way to onboard users. Give them their first item, whether it's in a game or whether it's an NFT from a celebrity or something like that. That'll really make someone interested. Wow, I got something for free. Maybe I'll try to use it. So we're building the whole end-to-end ecosystem. We're building a marketplace called NFT.io that's coming out very soon in the next month or so.
Right, yeah.
So you have all the tools to easily navigate the space. Another thing that we do differently, I think, is we don't just jump for the fast, cash grab, like, oh, just sell tons of NFTs and tons of JPEG files and call it a day, right? We have a long-term vision for the space, and we want to be creative. We're really passionate about this vision. We're passionate about this mission. We have a vision for the world, and we want to pursue that. We don't want to just, we're not here for a few years. We're here for the long term.
I see. Yeah, but I mean, definitely, I can see the ecosystem. Is just if you just go to website. If you, I mean, if anyone who's watching this, I recommend everybody just to, go to the description area. I put all the links, so please just go into the website. But like, there's so many products, so I totally agree that whole like ecosystem being built. But since you touched on the new like Efinity, right? Like I'm so curious about. I would like to learn a little bit more about it. So like, what is Efinity and like what kind of problem does it like really solve?
Yeah, Efinity is made to make NFTs easy to use on blockchain and make them open. So right now, Yeah, so let me explain. So right now we have NFTs. The
Yeah.
majority of NFTs are on Ethereum or an Ethereum sidechain.
Right.
And these NFTs are built on smart contracts. They're usually ERC 1155, ERC 721, those two token standards. Those are difficult to interact with. Their smart contracts have to be super paranoid because they can't trust anyone. You know, you don't want somebody to create a smart contract that steals tokens. So every smart contract has to be paranoid of every other smart contract. So what does this mean? It makes it hard to do simple things. It makes it hard to do trading, crafting. A lot of operations inside games that would be cheap and easy are really expensive and difficult on Ethereum. So what we're doing with Efinity, we want to break down a number of barriers. We want to make it like super cheap to just join a game. You don't even have to spend any money to start playing the game. You can start receiving items, sending items, doing cool things inside the game, crafting them into your epic sword or whatever you want. And you can start doing that, and the costs will be covered. When you start, the costs will be covered because it's part of the economy of Efinity. If you're doing something with NFTs, we don't want you to be limited by these cost barriers. If you're providing value to the network, that is actually what's fueling the network and what's bringing out EFI and bringing out coins. So you can bring value to the network in a few ways. You can run the network. You can be one of these collator nodes that it's kind of like a miner, and it runs the network, and it can receive marketplace fees, it can receive transaction fees and earn money. You can vote for those nodes. If you don't want to run a big server and do all that stuff, you can just, pull out your wallet, stake some currency and vote for one of these nodes. You decide that this is a trustworthy operator, and you'll actually earn some rewards for doing that. But what Efinity is trying to solve is really the difficulties of interacting with blockchain. So we want to make it so that you play a game, you can just start playing the game. You don't even know blockchain's happening in the background. But then if you want to start, maybe you want to take your items and put them into a wallet, you'll have the ability to do that. So you won't even have to, start off with a wallet. You won't even have to back up your seed phrase. That'll remove 90% of the audience immediately. If you start a game and it says, "Oh, set up your wallet, install MetaMask, do all this stuff," it's like, oh, too much work, too much effort.
And like some people are so skeptical. Like for myself, like when I see the game, like I'm like, oh, I don't know about this game. I don't want to connect my wallet, So like it's kind of scary too. So
it is scary. So you'll be able to actually the wallets on Efinity can be transferred to different users. So you'll start off with your sort of virtual wallet that hangs in space. You'll start receiving some items to that wallet, and whenever you want, you can take that and put it into your your hardware wallet or your cold storage or whatever you want to do, and then you have it fully secured on your account. So that's one big deal for gamers and game developers.
Wow. Okay, that's so interesting. Okay, go ahead.
I mean that's one of the big friction points. Another thing that we realized, something that no one's really tackling in the NFT space.
Oh, what is that?
So we have these millions of NFTs now already. You can see them on any marketplace, just tons of them. And a lot of them, if it's a Banksy or a Beeple or something like that, okay, maybe that NFT is going to be worth something. You know what, people are paying millions of dollars for that NFT. But the long tail where you have games and you have a million items in the game, how are people going to value that? You have to wait till somebody, transacts something and makes that first trade, and then you'll know, okay, it's worth that much, right?
I see.
But 99% of the NFTs, no one knows what they're worth. And they're just going to sit there on the markets and wait. And, that's the kind of dark side that people aren't talking about with NFTs right now. And we're trying to solve that with Efinity. And we think we have a solution.
How?
So the network, this is really cool. This is what just makes me super excited. The network will incentivize you to tell the network what you think the price is. So if you think this sword is worth $10, you're gonna get incentive to say that it's worth $10. If somebody else thinks no man, it's worth $100. This is a really cool sword. Then the network's gonna give that guy the incentive. If the next guy says no, it's worth $1,000, then that person is going to get the incentive for that. And so we're actually having people say, I think this item's worth this, I think it's worth this, I think it's worth this. And by putting all these predictions, these price predictions out, they're receiving EFI for doing this service. It's called price discovery.
Ooh.
And by doing this though, they're saying that I will pay that amount of money for the sword or for whatever it is that's in that game. I'll pay it.
So they can't say like $1 million and not then back
They
off.
have to have they have to have that $1 million in their account. And they have to say, yeah, I would pay $1 million if you sell that to me.
Okay, so that's like,
and then the seller can say, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll do it for $1 million. But that's our mechanism. So that works across the entire Efinity network. But you want to place, like most of the people will just place stink bids. If there's some items there that have no prices on them, I'll buy that for $5. I'll buy that for $20. It seems like it's a good game. I'll pay that much for that item. And you're going to start earning EFI the more you do that price discovery. Now, what the next level of this is you're actually going to be incentivized to place these sort of price discovery offers on things outside of Efinity. So you can start doing that for Ethereum items. You can start doing that for Binance Smart Chain items. You can do that for other other chains on Polkadot and on Kusama. And you'll start getting incentives for doing that. So Efinity is going to become this massive sort of organic price oracle for all NFTs. And then when sellers on Ethereum that maybe have their CryptoKitty there, they say, hey, somebody's offering $500 for my CryptoKitty. I'm going to move it onto Efinity and sell it because this is awesome, right?
Yeah, right. That's super interesting. So basically, okay, so my understanding is if I actively say like, oh, this is much worse, this is much worse, then like I earn, right? Like by doing that.
Yeah, you're passively earning by doing that. By saying, I think this is worth that much. And if people outbid you, then they're earning. So the top price is the one that's getting the earning potential. And you're telling the whole network this, and the network is saying, okay, you're providing a valuable service by doing price discovery. So we're gonna reward you with EFI.
That's something like I feel like every NFT marketplace should do that. Like I heard the rumor that like there's just so many like control internal bidding and to increase the price to like like 100 ETH or something like that, even though like no one's bidding for that. And then like I don't know, like I always thought like that's super big issue in the industry, but I feel like you need a chain. You need a chain to solve that. You can't just do it on a marketplace, because another key feature is on Efinity, the fees are not going to a central operator. They're not going to a company that runs a website, marketplace, and all these ones that you see out there. It's going back to the blockchain. Any fees, any marketplace commissions are going back straight into the blockchain, feeding the blockchain, fueling it, going to the people that run it, the people that do price discovery, doing all that stuff. Yeah. Wow, that's super interesting. I mean, yeah, for the price for sure, but also like, just bringing NFT to the other chain too, right? Because for example, like my understanding is that like, because for example, if I'm playing something on Ethereum, and then if I want to just, I don't know, bring that to like, I don't know, Binance Smart Chain to, I don't know, maybe this is an interoperable like a NFT item, then like I can just use that in multiple games or something. Maybe
exactly. So we think that right now you can have a physical item, you can move it to a different city, you can move it to different places. It's your item wherever you are in the world. In the real world, right? So on the blockchain space, we want to create a new standard that makes these tokens interoperable. So we're building a new token standard called paratokens, and we want this to basically have this unified identity of an item and figure out what chain it came from, how it operates, what's the monetary policy, make sure people can't, mint new copies of it randomly on another chain. And we want people to be able to choose where they go. Like code is law, right? You want to choose what you do with your items, and we don't want to lock you into this walled garden.
I see. Oh, that's gonna be really, really useful for sure. Like it's gonna be more like dynamic for sure.
Well, we're building the metaverse. In the end, I think the future is heading towards a metaverse, and the metaverse means you have a digital identity you can move in between many different places, virtual worlds, the physical world, different blockchains, and you can keep your property, you can keep your items, and you can actually interact with these different worlds in the ways that they support. So you can maybe go, take your game items, bring them into a VR world and show them off to your friends, or put your armor, your suit of armor on from a certain game and walk around with it in another game. I think that's where it's heading in the future.
So, well, for example, like right now, for example, the Sandbox, the Decentraland, all those like metaverse, right? Then in your mind, I can just go to Decentraland to get the item, buy item, wear something. Then I can just go to like a different metaverse, as it is, basically. Like
yeah,
that's
the
world you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's going to require collaboration between different games, and it's going to require possibly AI and possibly different mechanisms to make this stuff work properly.
Yeah.
But down the line, I'm saying a few years down the line, 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to see interoperability between all blockchains, all games, and it's going to be a really interesting space to be in the virtual world.
Whoa! So, from your perspective though, like I'm sure like you talk to so many different NFT or project leaders, right, in the industry. Are they open to this idea to like basically let's connect to each other, or people generally like, oh, just leave me alone, kind of? I don't know.
So what we see is indie games are really open to the idea of this network effect, like branching out, collaborating with other games. We have a bunch of game developers on Engine that are really open to this, and they want that because it brings them more attention, it brings the community. What we've seen so far from the larger publishers is they want to use this concept in their own games. So if you have a sports game kind of publisher, maybe each year of the sports game franchise would be connected with each other, or maybe connected to the physical world too. Like if you go to an actual game, a sports game, maybe you'll be able to receive an NFT and then use that inside their game franchise. In games that have series, number 2, number 3. They're very interested in bringing this aspect to their whole game series. So we're seeing that, and I think eventually we'll see stuff like Smash Brothers style, where you're like merging different worlds, together.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Or Kingdom Hearts or whatever, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be really fun. But like what I can just imagine that like those like indie games are connected to each other. Then like at some point, like all those big players cannot ignore, like, oh, okay, that's a thing. All right, we're gonna have to do it, and then
that metaverse, that sort of remixing and mixing aspect of the space, it's going to be a lot of exploration and figuring out what to do. Like you don't really want to bring a laser gun into a fantasy game, right? But there's things you can do, maybe bringing value between games, or bringing your identity, like your character identity into the different games together. So there's gonna be a lot of creativity exploration, but I think that's gonna be another area where people can do something really creative.
Yeah, wow, that's gonna be really fun. All right, so like you kind of mentioned earlier about Infinity's EFI token, right? That's different from Engine token. So what's the difference? Can I explain?
Sure. So EFI is our new token. It was a very successful public and private sale.
Yeah.
And it's fully out now. It's launched to the community. And what EFI is used for, it's the fuel for doing transactions on Efinity, and also it's the fuel for running that blockchain. So basically, anyone that does something useful for NFTs, whether it's building a game or doing discovering the price of an NFT or the value of an NFT, whether it's developing tools or products or running the blockchain physically itself, or voting or doing governance, those kind of things are that you're going to get rewarded with EFI, and you can use that EFI for transactions, for marketplace transactions. It's the fuel to run that system. Engine Coin is what you build your items with. So you actually, when you build an NFT on our platform, you can actually infuse it with Engine Coin. And so it'll actually have Engine Coin stored inside of it. So if you have a super interesting, rare, valuable item, you can actually, let's say the game goes away a long time in the future, you can crack that item open and take out the Engine Coin. Another thing that this does is this mechanism is going to actually let you stake Engine Coin. And by staking it inside of an item, you're automatically going to be part of the Efinity project. You're going to be nominating and voting for the people that run the Efinity network. Mm-hmm. So we have 100,000 people that own Engine Coin. And we have so many people that own these millions and millions of items that were made over the last 4 years with Engine. Those people will automatically be staked. They'll have their Engine Coin staked, and they're going to be participating in the Efinity network. And they're going to be rewarded with EFI by doing so.
Yeah, I thought like that was super clever to basically infuse the token in the item. So that means because it already has value as a value of the engine token, right? So basically, if game is like a stop or something, then like they can just melt down the item, then like cash out. Basically, that's the idea.
Exactly. Okay. So
it's a kind of security, right?
Yeah, it's that, and it's also just supporting the concept and the vision of the network. You're having an item that has some Engine Coin inside of it. That makes the whole network grow further, right? That's the whole way blockchain and cryptocurrencies work. So the more people that are on this idea, that they support this vision of the future, they're going to be using Engine Coin to make these items. And the players that receive an item that has Engine Coin inside of it, well, they're going to have a really nice bonus there. Like, wow, it has. Some in the beginning, people were putting thousands of Engine Coin inside of items because it was worth 2 cents or whatever. Yeah. And now they're pretty happy. They were early adopters, and they're pretty happy about that.
For sure. By the way, for anyone who's watching this, in Japan, Engine's officially available on CoinCheck, I believe. So if you're interested in it, maybe you can just go into the exchange and buy some. But awesome. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I think that's helpful. So, okay, I wanted to ask you about this partnership situation, right? Because like you guys are working with Microsoft and Samsung, and also like partnership with like Unities and all that stuff. Like, maybe can you like lay out what is the official like a partner, and then what you guys are kind of working towards?
Yeah, so I mean, we started this pilot project with Microsoft a couple of years ago, and they wanted to use NFTs a little bit differently. They have Microsoft Azure, which is a whole suite for developers, cloud services, and they wanted to make this more fun. They wanted to encourage their developers to go to events, and write blog posts and build some code. And how are they going to do this? They realized that blockchain and having collectible tokens was a really interesting way to explore this. So we piloted this idea with them, and we found that developers love it. So when you're part of the Microsoft developer community, you do something, you attend an event, you get this cool, funny badger character. Right. And every different thing you do, there's different kinds of badgers available. And so we found that people were super engaged. They loved the idea. They loved getting a blockchain token. And then they could even trade that token in or claim it for something physical, like, some points, some game points, or they could get literally a physical plushie version of that badger. So Microsoft has taken this full steam ahead now. They're doing it in dozens of countries, I believe now. And all across Western Europe and beyond. And so they're using this as a way to engage the developers and gamify the experience of interacting with their business. So we've actually started working with, you mentioned Samsung, we did some other work with Samsung, but they're also exploring NFTs now. So we have this enterprise division in our company, which we're devoted to basically building these interesting uses with all kinds of businesses. How can they use NFTs to make it more engaging, more fun? And in some cases, we are actually thinking about solving some of the world's issues and sustainability goals. Like we're working with the United Nations now. And that's going to be a very... That's crazy. I was on an interesting webinar, and we're having calls with them and thinking about how can we use NFTs to kind of make the world a better place. And I think I can't say too much about it yet because it's still kind of under wraps, but it's a really cool, interesting area to explore because these NFTs can go worldwide. You can do it very inexpensively, and you can get people interested. You can build businesses, you can build games, and it's a really cool space. So beyond UN, we're talking to a lot of other enterprises, lifestyle brands, people like that who want to merge the physical world with the digital world, merge their physical products with the digital. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be an interesting place to explore that.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I can imagine sheer number of like demands and phone calls, like you know, every single day. Wow. Okay. But gosh, I you know, I realize it's already like you know like 40 minutes or something like that. So I kind of wanted to like close down this conversation, but like I realized I forgot to ask you about how you enter this industry, because like you enter like what, like 2000 what 2008 2009.
Well, not the blockchain space, but I entered I first started using Bitcoin. I installed the wallet, I think in late 2011. And I
Wow,
actually used
early.
one of the early faucets, and it was really crappy. It was like a white page, you know, with a bunch of banner ads, and you're like, receive Bitcoin. I'm like, what? I clicked it, and I must have gotten some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't really understand what it meant. It was my first experience with it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe I received 1 Bitcoin or something back then, but it's been lost to history. But then in 2012, I started playing around. I went on Bitcoin Talk. I started messing with mining.
Oh.
Another one of the crazy, it's a little bit wild, but one of the things that really attracted me to blockchain when I really learned how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to be freezing my body and my brain when I die. So I'm a cryonicist, and there's a small group of people in the world, but you know, there's a people that believe that, you know, you could potentially preserve your body and you know, maybe wake up in 500 years if the technology comes in some crazy future. Maybe there's like a 0.1% chance that they'll be able to like revive your body.
Wow.
But then you'll wake up and you won't have any money, you won't have any, you know, any friends or anything. But the one thing you could possibly bring with you is cryptocurrency. So I was like, wow, you know, Bitcoin's going to last for thousands of years. If I remember a Bitcoin wallet, that could last with me forever, and that's the only thing that will last the test of time, right? You can't, you know, bury something in Egypt somewhere, right? It's like, so I thought that was fascinating. And another thing that really excited me is the fact that AIs, when that revolution starts coming, and we start seeing maybe not conscious, but kind of AIs that can talk almost like people. We're already seeing a little bit of that with GPT-3. They can do, you know, pretty natural language. And, you know, when the new versions of that come out in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, AI can actually own cryptocurrency. They can't own physical currency because they're not a person, but they can own cryptocurrency. And that will be a really interesting thing to see. How does AI interact with humanity when AI can hold value and mine its own crypto and do these kind of things? So that just blows my mind. And I think in the gaming space, this will be interesting. And in many other spaces, this will be interesting.
Oh my goodness. I love that kind of story. Like I also you know, think about those things. I love, you know, I love following, of course, like Elon Musk, right? Like maybe, well, it's okay. So like, let me ask you this: do you think it's possible in the future to maybe store the memories on the blockchain to like to basically preserve? Then maybe we can you know, transfer it to like a different body or something. I don't know.
There's people that have this philosophy, and it's a sort of mind uploading philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you can make a map of the human mind and every neuron and maybe even the electrical signals and things, the way things work, maybe in some distant future, you could see consciousness being replicated in a digital world. That's something, you know, I'm not qualified to answer, but it's cool to think about, right? And it's cool to kind of kick back and think. Well,
I mean, I don't know who's qualified to really talk about that. You know, like, I mean, that's like I don't know, like a vision for like humanity, right? So I think anyone can talk about it. Well,
yeah, I mean, in the end, I mean, you know, this thing of consciousness is kind of a miracle in the world, and we don't know what it is. We don't know, but we know that it works, and we see the biological processes happening in our brains and our bodies. So maybe one day that can replicate, and maybe you'll have a identity permanently etched into a blockchain somewhere. And yeah, who knows? But it's fun to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know because like Elon Musk is building like a Neuralink. Do you know?
Neuralink is fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see where that goes too.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, okay, I know like we only have like a few minutes left, but maybe if you're here, I mean, I know you're busy, but like maybe if you're free next time, please come back to the show. Let's talk about crazy future and then what
love
you
that.
envision. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, this is a really fun interview. Thank you. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Okay, so maybe just to wrap up this conversation, right? Maybe could you, I don't know, introduce, maybe touch on roadmap for like there's a regular investors, right? Like what to look for, what's coming in 2021 and beyond, and yeah, some closing remarks and then message to the Japanese community.
Sure. So in 2021, what's coming up next? We are launching NFT.io. That is our marketplace for these digital assets, and we want to make it really interesting. We want to be a little bit different than other marketplaces out there. We want to give people a spotlight on NFT.io and really have valuable, interesting items that have utility. So everyone we're talking to, they're interested in doing something beyond just selling a file, just selling a JPEG. So that's going to be our kind of optimized website for doing that. And anyone who wants to release some NFTs and do something interesting on NFT.io, talk to us. We'd love to talk to you. It's coming soon. We're also launching Engine Wallet 2.0. You can already download the first version of it on iOS and Android, but 2.0 is going to be more of a refined way of you can actually explore NFTs. You can see them much clearer and easier. You can see all the data about them. It's going to be more user-friendly, user-focused than our old wallet. It's completely redesigned from the ground up. Then we're launching most likely Efinity by the end of this year. So we are a little bit of it depends on when the parachain auctions start for Polkadot.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have it ready for initial release at the end of this year. And in 2022, we're going to be focusing on building, all the cool features of Efinity, like marketplace tools. So anyone can build their own marketplace. Let's say you join a game and they have their own custom marketplace. You go talk to a storekeeper in the game, and you'll interact with the blockchain right through there. We're gonna add a lot more of the fun stuff, crafting on chain, building items out of multiple tokens and they turn into a new token, all that kind of fun stuff. Then we are also building a new SDK platform for serious game developers, people who want to run their whole backend server infrastructure in a data center somewhere. They can actually fully run everything there. They don't have to talk to engine servers. They can put as much power in there as they want, and that's going to be useful for big publishers, big games that have millions of users. So yeah, there's a lot coming.
Awesome. So that maybe probably the best place to get those information is on the Twitter, right?
Yeah, you can go to our Twitter, and that's just ENJIN.
Yeah.
You can also go to efinity.io to learn about Efinity, the new blockchain. So EFINITY.io.
Yeah.
And check out our Telegram too. We have over 40,000 people there talking about all kinds of interesting concepts. So
awesome. All right. So okay, I know you're so busy, you have to go, but it's been such a pleasure, and it's been just so much fun to learn about you and the project. I feel like time just fly like that. But please keep in touch, and then you're always welcome to come back to the show to directly talk to the Japanese community. And I personally looking forward to talk about crazy vision.
Me too. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Keep in touch. Talk to you soon then.
Bye.
Bye.